A stranger in the crowd. A story of regret and reckoning. A bird's eye view of the boyfriend who ignored Maya. Part 1. The Arrogance. I met Bianca at a rooftop party in June. She was tall, blonde, the kind of woman who walked into a room and made everyone else feel smaller. She was an aspiring model, which meant she spent her days being told she was beautiful and her nights pretending she wasn't aware of it. I was aware of it. I was 26, ambitious, and tired of waiting for my life to start. I worked as an aspiring music manager, which meant I spent my days telling young artists they weren't good enough, and my nights trying to shake hands with people who pretended not to remember me. I was good at pretending too. Bianca noticed me because I was the only man at the party who didn't approach her immediately. I had learned that trick from a podcast. Act disinterested. Let them come to you. She came to me. You look bored, she said. I'm not bored, I said. I'm observing. Observing what? Observing how everyone in this room is trying to be someone they're not. She laughed. It was a practice laugh, but it was directed at me, so I didn't care. Interesting, she said. And who are you trying to be? I looked at her. I thought about my apartment, my girlfriend who played sad songs on a guitar, my career that was going nowhere, my life that felt small. Someone who deserves more, I said. She smiled. I like that. She told me about her photo shoots. I told me about the artists I was going to manage one day. I lied about how many I had already signed. She didn't notice, or she didn't care. When I left the party, I had her number in my phone, and a feeling in my chest that I mistook for excitement. It was actually the beginning of the end. The next morning, I woke up next to Maya. She was already awake, sitting up in bed with her guitar across her lap. She was writing something, scribbling in a notebook. Her brown hair was messy. Her face was soft. She looked peaceful. I felt irritated. Can you do that somewhere else? I said. I'm trying to sleep. She looked up, startled. Sorry, I had an idea. I couldn't sleep. Of course you couldn't. I rolled over. I heard her put the guitar down. I heard her leave the room. I heard her start making coffee in the kitchen. I didn't follow her. I thought about Bianca, the way she looked at me, the way she made me feel like I was already someone important, the way she didn't write sad songs at 6 a.m. Maya was sweet. She was loyal. She believed in me when no one else did. She worked 2 jobs so I could focus on my career. She held my hand through rejections and empty promises and nights when I wanted to give up. But she was quiet. She was soft. She was never going to be the woman who walked into a room and made everyone else feel smaller. And I was tired of feeling small. The affair started slowly. Drinks after work. Excuses to stay out later. I told myself it was just fun. I told myself I wasn't hurting anyone. I told myself Maya would understand eventually. She wouldn't. I knew that. But I didn't care. Or maybe I cared, but I cared more about the way Bianca made me feel. Important. Desired. Like I was finally getting what I deserved. The first time I brought Bianca to the apartment, Maya was at a gig. A coffee shop in the suburbs. 17 people. $40 in tips. She had texted me earlier. Tonight's crowd was small, but one person cried during my song. That's something, right? I hadn't replied. Bianca laughed at something on my phone. I looked at her. She was beautiful. She was everything Maya wasn't. I didn't feel guilty. I felt relieved. The night Maya walked in, I was already half asleep. Bianca was beside me, tangled in the sheets. The door opened. Maya stood in the doorway. Her face went white. She looked like she had been hit by something invisible. I sat up. I didn't panic. I didn't scramble for an explanation. I felt relief. Finally, the moment I had been waiting for without admitting it. An excuse, a door, a way out. Maya, I said. Come on, close the door. She didn't close the door. She stood there, frozen. Her guitar case still strapped to her back, her $40 still in her pocket. Her heart still not understanding what her eyes were seeing. I got out of bed, I pulled on sweatpants, I walked toward her. "Let's be adults about this," I said. "You and we've been running on fumes for a long time. You know that." She didn't speak. She just stared at me. I pointed toward Bianca. "Look at yourself, then look at her. You're sweet, but you're not going anywhere. Your music, it's not going to happen. You know it, I know it. I need someone who fits my future." Her voice came out like a whisper. "You said you believed in me." I laughed. I couldn't help it. "I believed you would try harder. I believed you would become someone else. But you're still just you. Still quiet, still sad. Still playing the same coffee shops for the same $40. I reached out and touched her face. She flinched. I didn't notice. Or I didn't care. "This isn't working. You know it isn't." I walked past her. I pulled a suitcase from the closet. I began throwing clothes into it. "You can keep the apartment for the rest of the month. After that, figure it out." I grabbed my jacket from the hook by the door. I paused, my hand on the doorknob, and looked back at her one last time. "For what it's worth, you're not ugly. You're just not special." Then, I walked out. Bianca followed me. I didn't look back. Part 2. The Fall. Bianca and I lasted 8 months. 8 months of expensive dinners and Instagram photos and pretending we were happy. She left me for a richer producer. Someone who bought her a car, a house, a reality TV career. No Maya. No Bianca. No career. No money. Just a bitter mouth and a folder full of old business cards that no one returned my calls about. I moved into a studio apartment. Small. Cheap. The kind of place where you could hear your neighbors fighting through the thin walls. I took a job at a music distribution warehouse because it was the only thing that would hire me. I packed boxes of vinyl records and CDs. I shipped them to stores and fans around the country. The irony was not lost on me. I had wanted to be a manager. I had wanted to discover the next big thing. Instead, I was a warehouse worker, handling the physical products of other people's success. The first time I saw Maya's face on an album cover, I almost dropped the box. It was a year after I left her. The album was called Unfinished. Her face was on the front. She looked different, sharper. Her eyes held a confidence that hadn't existed when I knew her. I stared at the cover for a long time. "Hey, you okay?" my coworker asked. "Yeah," I said. "Fine." I packed the box. I didn't tell anyone I knew her. That night, I went home and searched her name on my phone. I found her profile. 15 million followers. A blue checkmark. Her most recent post was a photo of her on a stadium stage, her hand raised, a Grammy in her grip. To the girl in the closet with the cheap microphone, "Keep going. They're going to love you." I scrolled through her photos. Maya in Paris. Maya at the beach. Maya, laughing with a man, some director I had never heard of. The caption read, 3 years. Still laughing, still writing, still yours. She had moved on. She had moved on so completely that I was nothing but a memory. A bad one. I typed a message to her. "Hey Maya, long time. Congrats on the Grammys. You look great. I've been listening to the album. It's really good. I'm sorry for how things ended. I was young and stupid. Maybe we could grab coffee sometime?" My thumb hovered over the send button. I thought about the last thing I had said to her. "You're not ugly. You're just not special." I deleted the message. I threw my phone across the room. The Grammy broadcast was on a Sunday. I watched it alone in my studio apartment. A microwave dinner in my lap. The sound of my neighbor's TV bleeding through the wall. Maya won Best New Artist. She won Song of the Year for Empty Apartment. When she walked up to the stage for the third time, the audience gave her a standing ovation that lasted 2 minutes. She stood at the podium, clutching the gramophone statue, her silver gown glittering under the lights. She waited for the applause to die down. 3 years ago, I was sleeping on the floor of an apartment I couldn't afford, writing songs in a closet because I was too ashamed to let anyone hear me. Someone told me I wasn't special. Someone told me I didn't fit the image of a star. Someone told me I should be quieter. 0.5-second pause. The audience was silent. 0.5-second pause. I want to thank that person. Because he was right about one thing. I wasn't his future. I told myself I was just curious. I told myself I wanted to see what all the fuss was about. I told myself I didn't care. I was lying. The show was in my hometown. The same city where Maya had played for 17 people in a coffee shop. The same city where she had worked 2 jobs while I told her she wasn't special. I sat in the 5th row. Maya walked onto the stage. 60,000 people screamed. She was wearing black. Simple. Powerful. Her hair was different. Her face was different. She looked like someone who had been through a war and come out the other side. She played the hits. Every song was a knife. Empty apartment. The other girl. Learning to breathe. I knew all the words because I had heard them 1,000 times. I knew she had written them about me. Halfway through the show, she paused. The lights dimmed. The band stopped playing. Maya stood alone at the front of the stage, her acoustic guitar in her hands. She looked out at the crowd, and then she saw me. I knew she saw me because her eyes stopped moving. She looked directly at me. For a long moment, neither of us moved. Then she smiled. It was not a kind smile. I want to dedicate this next song to someone in the audience tonight. He taught me something important. He taught me that a bad promise is worth less than silence. He taught me that being alone is better than being loved small. This song is called The Lesson, and it's for the man who thought I wasn't special. She started to play. The song was short, just 2 minutes, but it felt like an eternity. She sang about a Tuesday night, a door left open, a man who thought he was the prize when he was really just the first draft. And then she sang the bridge. You told me I wasn't pretty enough for your future. Now I'm the future of every girl you'll never have. You told me I was quiet, too soft, too small. Now 60,000 people scream my name, and you're just a stranger in the crowd who taught me what I'm not so I could learn what I am. The song ended. The stadium erupted. I didn't hear it. I was already walking up the aisle, pushing past people, my face wet with tears, my chest heaving. I made it to the concourse, to the exit. I stood outside the stadium, in the cold night air, and I listened to the muffled sound of the crowd still screaming. She had seen me. She had dedicated a song to me. She had looked at me like I was nothing. Because to her, I was nothing. I waited by her tour bus anyway. 3 hours, from midnight until 3 a.m. The same hour she used to write her songs, the same hour she had written the first one, the one that had started all of this. I stood in the freezing rain, shivering in my cheap suit, watching the bus. Security guards walked past me, roadies loaded equipment. No one acknowledged me. At 3 a.m., the bus door opened. A security guard stepped out. He walked up to me. She said to give you this. He handed me a small object. It was a notebook, old, dog-eared. The cover was stained with coffee and something that might have been tears. I opened it. Inside, on the first page, in Maya's handwriting, you were right about one thing. I wasn't your future. I was mine. I turned the page. Empty. The rest of the notebook was blank. Through the bus window, I saw her. She was sitting inside, a blanket over her legs, a cup of tea in her hands. She was looking at her phone. She was smiling at something on the screen. The bus pulled away. Taillights disappeared into the night. I stood alone in the rain, holding the empty notebook. Some doors, once closed, can never be opened again. Part 3. The Reckoning. 30 years passed. I married again. A woman named Teresa. She was nothing like Maya or Bianca. She was practical, kind. She worked as a teacher. She didn't care about fame or money or status. We had 2 children, a boy and a girl. I was a good father. I went to school plays and soccer games. I read bedtime stories. I told my children they were special. I meant it. I still worked at the warehouse. I had been promoted to supervisor. It wasn't glamorous, but it paid the bills. I had learned to be content with that. I thought about Maya less and less. She had become a memory, a faint one. The sharp edges had worn down over time. But sometimes, on rainy nights, I would hear her voice. Not singing, just speaking. The last thing she had ever said to me, "You're just not special." I had said those words to her. They had come back to haunt me 1,000 times. The letter arrived on a Tuesday. I opened it, expecting a bill. Instead, I found a single sheet of paper. Handwritten, familiar handwriting. "Jake, I'm dying. Stage 4. I have a few weeks left, maybe less. I've been thinking about the past, about the things I never said, about the things I should have said. I'd like to see you, one last time. No anger, no blame. Come if you want. Don't come if you don't. I'll understand either way. Maya." I read the letter 3 times. I felt like I had been punched in the chest. Maya was dying. Maya wanted to see me. I didn't know if I was brave enough to go. I went. I flew across the country. I took a train to her house. It was a small house on a quiet street. Nothing like the mansion she could have afforded. Just a simple place with a garden and a porch swing. She was in the back room. A hospice bed by the window. Sunlight streaming in. Flowers on the nightstand. She looked old. Her hair was gray. Her face was lined. But her eyes were the same. Brown. Deep. The eyes of a woman who had seen everything. She smiled when I walked in. "Jake," she said, "you came." Of course I came. I sat in the chair beside her bed. I didn't know what to do with my hands. I folded them in my lap. We were quiet for a long time. Then she spoke. "I read your letter. The one you never sent. The one you typed out on your phone and deleted." I stared at her. "How did you? Your phone was backed up to an old email account. You forgot you shared it with me. I saw it years ago." I felt my face go red. I was young, I was stupid. I know you didn't mean it. But I also know you meant the other things. The things you said that night. I looked at the floor. "I've been sorry for 30 years. Her fingers were cold. "I didn't ask you here to make you feel guilty," she said. "I asked you here because I need to tell you something." I looked up. "What?" She took a breath. Then she said, "I knew you would leave." I blinked. "What?" "The night you left. With Bianca. I knew it was going to happen. I had known for months." I shook my head. "That's not." "I wrote empty apartment 6 months before I walked in on you. I wrote it in my journal. The first draft. I didn't know what it was about at first. But then I realized." She paused. Her eyes held mine. "I realized I was writing the song I would need to survive you." I felt something crack inside my chest. "You knew I was going to leave?" "I didn't know with certainty, but I felt it. The way you looked at me, the way you didn't look at me, the way you stopped answering my texts. I felt it in my bones." "Then why didn't you say something?" She smiled, a gentle smile. "Because I needed you to leave. I needed to hit rock bottom. I needed to lose everything so I could find myself. You were the door I had to walk through, not the destination." I stared at her. "I was just a stepping stone?" "Not just a stepping stone. You were a lesson. A hard one, but a necessary one." I couldn't speak. My throat was tight. My eyes burned. "You said I wasn't special," she said. "And you were right. I wasn't special. Not yet. But I became special. I became special because I had to. Because I had no other choice." "Thank you, Jake." "For what?" "For leaving. For making me so angry that I had to prove you wrong. For giving me the greatest gift anyone has ever given me." "What gift?" She smiled. "The gift of being nothing to you, so I could become everything to myself." I stayed until she fell asleep. When I left her house, the sun was setting. I stood on her porch and looked out at the quiet street. The trees were turning orange. The air was cool. The way she had stood in the doorway. The way her heart had broken. The way I had walked out without looking back. I had thought I was the one in control. I had thought I was the one making a decision. But she had already let me go. Long before I ever walked out that door. I had never been the main character in her story. I had just been the chapter she had to finish. And she had finished me. I walked to my car. I got in. I sat there for a long time, staring at the steering wheel. I wasn't angry. I wasn't bitter. I was free. Not because she had forgiven me. Not because I had forgiven myself. But because I finally understood she had never needed me. She had only needed me to leave. And I had done that. I had done one good thing in my life. I had walked out that door so she could become who she was meant to be. I drove away. I never saw her again. But I carried her words with me for the rest of my life. You weren't special. Not yet. But you became special. And I thought maybe that was true for me too. Maybe I had become special too. Not because of what I had done, but because of what I had learned. I had learned that sometimes the best thing you can do is walk away. Not because you're angry, not because you're cruel, but because the person you're leaving needs to fall, so they can learn to fly. I had been the one who pushed her, and she had flown.